everyone. I'm Jessica Benavides.
My name's Sam Baker.
And welcome to Track Talk. For those of you watching for the first time, this is our podcast-style driver interviews where we are introducing our 2023 Radical Cup Canada and Sports Car Championship Canada driver lineup. So guys, this is episode number 3, and we are very excited to announce that Kenny Reedman will be driving the 2023 Radical Cup Canada with us this season. Kenny is from Meaford, Ontario. This is Kenny's second year in a Radical. However, he has 27 years of racing experience in other forms of motorsports, dabbling in the likes of motocross, karts, superbikes, flat track, and enduro. Kenny is a 3-time Canadian Pro Sportbike champ, a 2-time Canadian Pro Sportbike race winner, and he came 3rd place overall in the standings last year of the 2022 Radical Cup Canada. All right, so tell us a little bit about what you got up to during the wintertime.
Quite a bit of snowboarding, or tried to. This winter hasn't been the best for snow. And I built a sim rig last year, so putting in a little bit of time on that, getting ready for the season this year. And other than that, just building a barn dominium.
A barn dominium?
Yeah. Building I build custom homes, but right now we're doing a really cool shop that has 4 garage bays. 2 of them are drive-through, and then a little loft with an office in it and living space attached. So it's been a pretty fun project.
So I guess your sim is what you use to practice at home for the season then. What's your favorite track to race?
CTMP.
Are you using iRacing stuff, getting in the Radical?
I've got iRacing, yeah. I've also got Assetto Corsa because they've got the actual Radical SR3, and then they've got Calabogie and the Toronto Indy and that. So, but yeah, I do the iRacing. I like driving the prototype car in the official races just because it's pretty fun, and I feel like it's pretty great to just spend time mentally racing for 40 minutes against other real people. Really gets you in the mindset heading into a race season.
And Assetto Corsa, I agree. Assetto Corsa, it's got every track in Canada, all the way down to Shannonville, which is kind of crazy for a video game.
Super crazy.
I always like to ask this. Do you find that it's comparable to being on track?
To a certain extent, I would say racecraft, yes. In terms of actual driving, I'm not so sure how much it relates, but just having to mentally focus in for 40 minutes of a race with other people is a very similar feeling to having to stay focused for an entire race in real life.
So what do you tend to focus on the most when practicing or prepping using the sim or mental training?
Yeah, to me, it's just the mental focus. I've always thought that racing is more mental than anything else. So just being able to not break concentrations and just hit your marks lap after lap after lap, work on consistency. I think all that really helps translate into the real world.
Yeah, I agree. That's huge. Once you're quick, great, but how are you going to do it for a whole duration of a race, lap after lap? That's all up here.
Yeah, 100%.
What kind of a mindset do you feel like you have to be in before the race?
I think just being totally calm. For me, racing, when you're so focused on something and your mind doesn't think about absolutely anything else, and it's almost like a form of meditation. So if you can get into that state before the race starts, rather than building into it as the race goes, and it's really hard to do, to be able to block out all your thoughts and worries, especially the way that we're running our race program right now, where I'm helping my dad work on the car and stuff like that. It's really hard to just completely focus on the job that I'm trying to do, which is win a race. So yeah.
Compared to bikes, is there anything in terms of the training and the off-season stuff you're doing differently for the car?
No, mentally, I would say the racing is the same. Just with the superbike racing, it was a lot more physical. So there was a lot more cardio training involved for that.
Can I ask how, just out of curiosity? I've never driven either one.
So to turn a motorcycle, it's a lot of effort crawling back and forth on the bike. It weighs 400 pounds and you're constantly flipping it back and forth, and they accelerate so quickly and you're not sitting in a seat. So you have to literally hang on to it when it's trying to pull away. And even just when you're hard on the brakes going into the corners, we're pulling I don't know, 2.5 Gs of braking, and you have so much weight on your hands on the handlebars, just trying to support your own body weight, and just lap after lap, it really starts to wear you down.
That weight transfer, like with your body, less so in a car where you're just feeling what the car is doing. Did you find doing that for so long on bikes helped adapt when you got in the car, having an idea of the balance going through corners and stuff, like communicating setup info and all that?
Not really. I don't have a good feel for the car to make setup changes or anything like that. It still seems really foreign to me, because on a motorcycle, I would say, like, once you get like about like a baseline setting, anything that you do with the chassis normally revolves around a geometry change. And on a motorcycle, if you lower the front end, you know that the front end is lower because of you're sitting on top of it, so the body position is lower. Whereas in a car, I'm just sitting in the seat and I don't really know what the changes are doing.
That's interesting. I didn't know, like in bikes, you can almost use visual aspects of the bike and your ride position to communicate, not just the feel.
Yeah, like a lot of the times, like when we're trying to set up a bike, I'll be like, oh, like going into this corner, like I've got too much weight on my hands, which to me tells me that I need to, raise the front end of the bike, make a bit of a weight transfer difference.
Yeah, I don't know. Just touching on that again, I just feel like now that you've explained it, I can understand how it's so difficult. Like you have your weight plus the weight of the bike, plus the G forces, plus you're trying to control it at the same time as manage all the weight. Like yeah, that sounds crazy to me.
So the next question here, you could go bikes or cars, doesn't matter. But if you could race in any motorsports era, what would it be, and what type of racing, what car or bike?
Oh, any era. I would probably have to go with early to mid 90s, maybe late, all of the 90s, basically. The 500cc GP era, back when it was still two strokes, because those bikes were just crazy.
Yeah, I feel like 90s motorsport in general was a pinnacle of just madness.
Yeah. Everything was getting really, really fast, but still completely out of control.
Yeah. Who's a famous driver out there, well-known driver or rider that you might compare yourself to?
I'm not sure if I can compare myself to this person, but I always looked up to Valentino Rossi, and I always tried to like just mimic everything that he did. And I obviously came nowhere close to him because he is the greatest of all time. But yeah, I always strive to be more like Valentino Rossi, and it's kind of fitting because he's racing cars now too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you made the switch same year and all.
Yeah, totally. So he's he's doing really well in the sports cars over in Europe there.
Yeah, that's tough grid, lots of cars. But I guess he's got the track experience, so that helps.
A lot of experience, and I know he's been like he always drove shifter karts and stuff like that for years, even when he was racing the motorcycles. And I think he actually tested a Ferrari Formula One car at one point too during his motorcycle career.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your relationship with your team like? Like what do you rely on when you're at the track with them?
Yeah, it's like basically it's just me and my dad for the most part. We've got our friend Chris that comes to help out when he can, but just me and my dad just like working away on the car, trying to learn. And we do everything together, when it's like loading up the car, getting the rig ready, driving to the track, unloading the car, like the entire weekend we're together and we're working to the same goal and trying to have as much fun as we can while we're doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is he pretty new into car racing side of things too?
Yeah, he was a motorcycle as well. And then obviously with my motorcycle racing, he was all for that, and this is a new challenge for the both of us.
That's fun that you guys can do it together.
Yeah, totally. It's like my dad and I have always been racing together. Like he took me to my first motocross race when I was 5 years old, and it's been motocross or go-karts or road race bikes or now cars, and just always doing it together, which has been a lot of fun.
Now we're gonna jump into the hot lap section. So this is just a rapid fire Q&A. Some answers we might dive into a bit if they're kind of unique or fun ones, but yeah, here we go. If you're ready.
Yeah.
First one, do you prefer wet or dry races?
Dry.
Okay. Yeah, safe answer.
I haven't quite figured out the car in the wet yet. That one's gonna take some getting used to.
Which is most important to you, corner entry, apex, or exit?
On a super bike, exit was always the most important part. Like you kind of just wait to get through the corner and try to get on the gas as soon as possible. So you always set yourself up for a good run off the exit. And it's one of those things that even like when you have a fresh set of tires, you want to use as much of those as you can to put down a flyer in qualifying or anything like that. And the way to gain the most amount of time is just to get a better run out of the corner more often than not. And it's the safest way to gain lap time too. Just from my experience in bikes. And I've just kind of approached car racing the same way. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but that's how I've been going into it.
I remember too at the track in the summer ones, you tell me, like, I didn't realize this at first, but or at least understand it, but how the bike racing line is so much narrower with it, the bikes just being narrower, that if you mess up the entry or something, you can kind of, it's more forgiving. You can make up.
Yeah, for sure. You can be like a foot or two offline at the apex. And as long as your bike is in the right position to get on the gas for the next straightaway, you're not really going to lose a whole lot of time. Whereas in the car, you're a foot or two off the apex and it's like, oh, I'm running out of room on the outside.
What's a bucket list track to drive?
Well, it's not really a track, but I've always wanted to do Pikes Peak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. They used to run bikes there. They stopped doing that. I almost had a deal put together to do it on a bike, but
wow, I didn't
now
know
that I'm into the car thing. Yeah, now that I'm in the car, I would love to do it in a car one day.
Yeah. Jess, that's like, so we remember last
Thank you.
episode, we were talking to Jack about stages versus like rallycross. So Pikes Peak is like a stage up a mountain in the US.
Okay.
But you got corners that are like the edge and then just 100-foot drop.
Yeah.
And they're going around it. Like, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's super wild.
That whole thing to me, like, you guys are just fearless.
Worth the YouTube search though.
Okay. All right. Pikes Peak. I will.
Getting back on the rails here. So what's a bucket list event to attend as a fan?
The Isle of Man TT.
Yeah, 100%. Did you ever consider riding it when you were in your prime back then?
Yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I definitely would have gone over if I had the opportunity to do it. The only thing is, like, you have to do a handful of smaller road race events, like proper road race events, to qualify. They don't just let anyone show up and do the Isle of Man. And, just with the race schedule that I had going, and my parents didn't want me to do it and stuff like that. But I would have done it then. I don't think I'd do it now. I just want to go over and sit in one of the beer tents and watch the bikes go past.
Yeah, I'm with you there. How about we're firing up the Wii? What's your Mario Kart character of choice?
Oh, keep it OG with Mario.
And then how about if you're in real life, what's a Mario Kart like weapon or power up you might want to use?
Star power. Star power for sure. Gives you the speed and you can just blow everyone else off the track.
See you, Jonathan.
That would have been nice to have last year.
Okay, so we have a few fan questions that rolled in when we put it out there that you were next. Couple of fun ones. Favorite beer?
Busch. I think everyone knows that by now. Anyone that knows me knows I only drink Busch.
Gross.
Or Busch Light. I like Busch Light too.
Okay, we actually had somebody else ask Bud Light or Busch Light, so I guess that answers that.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll never say no to a Bud Light, but if there's a Busch Light next to it, I'll grab the Busch Light.
Okay. Scariest Code Brown moment?
Probably when I lost brakes on my super bike at Barber Motorsports Park in a practice session.
What did you do?
Yeah, that would be fun. What part of the track?
It was going down the back straight before the left right, and I reached for the brakes, and there was absolutely nothing. Like the caliper just fell right off the bike, and I remember going across the grass sideways, and there was a wall coming up, and I had to cross the other part of the track, so I just jumped off the bike and ragdolled into the air fence there. But that was the scariest one.
That's scary. Okay.
Yeah.
How much of your karting experience has come back to life with the Radicals?
Quite a bit. I mean, I thought it would be an easier transition because of my go-karting experience. But at the same time, I haven't raced go-karts in 15 17 years. So I think it helps a little bit, mostly with racecraft and lines. But yeah, I don't know. I picked up a shifter cart in the off season that I'm building up for this year. So hopefully get into some karting, do some more training, get better on the radical.
Okay, that's funny because somebody else asked, would you ever try competing in a kart race again, like nationals as a one-off?
Oh yeah, I definitely plan on it. I don't know about this year, but I definitely want to get more seat time in a go-kart and get back to it, because that's, in my opinion, of all the racing I've done, that is one of the most raw forms of true racing.
And the competition's pretty serious, right? Like with karts.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, it would be fun to do nationals, and I even tossed around the idea of maybe trying to really put an effort in, go do like the Super Nats in Vegas or something like that. It would be a lot of fun.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Okay. Is there something that you were able to take out of your experience with bikes that you could now apply to driving a radical?
Yeah, I mean, racing's racing. So it's a very similar mentality. At the end of the day, you're just trying to find traction where others can't and go as fast as possible. The only thing that, like, motorcycles make time in a much different way than cars do. So it's a little bit different, but definitely having that racing experience has helped me get in the car.
So this question came from someone that I'm hoping is the person that is referred to in the answer. But who is your favorite karting teammate on Three's go-karts?
On 3S go-karts?
3S go-kart, yeah.
Favorite teammate got to be Curtis Fox.
That wasn't who asked it.
That wasn't who asked it? Who asked it?
Richard Boak, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I was teammates with Richard only for like 2 or 3 years. Me and Curtis were teammates for like 6 or 7. So
Okay.
sorry, Richard.
What's scarier, riding or driving, and what requires more focus?
I'd say that they both require the same amount of focus. Bike is when you're in the car. When I was in the car, I felt that it was kind of scarier going into the corners, maybe just because it was new and I wasn't used to like a downforce car and how much speed they can carry into the corners. The bike, I guess, is like scarier because there's more risk involved, but at the same time, when you're on the bike, you're not thinking about the risk, so you're not scared in the moment. Whereas with the car, for me, like going into turn 8 at Mosport in the radical and just being like, oh, I don't have to let off, but I really want to, that was pretty scary for me. So I don't know, hopefully it'll be less scary this year, and then I can just focus on lap times.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were saying that, probably the unfamiliarity as well of like getting into the car, whereas like you race bikes for so long that's probably why you weren't obviously scared in the moment.
Yeah, it was like I found the limit of the motorcycle when I was like 15 years old, right? And in the car, I still haven't found it. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to push that hard. I don't know where the limit is, and just like slowly easing up to it.
Yeah, I know if I went cars to bikes, like someone could probably beat me on a mountain bike. I'd be terrified. I would not be going fast at all.
You just be idling.
I got a super bike. You can come try it, man.
That's tempting, but I'd like their return. We got to do more track talks after this. So, any affirmations or things you say in your head before heading out on track?
No, I try to shut the brain off. I try to erase all thoughts, focus on my breathing, and just get ready for the race.
Yeah, empty mind.
Yeah.
Fastest speed you've hit?
339 kilometers an hour.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool club.
Yeah, it was at like 2:30 or 3 in the morning during a 24-hour race at Paul Ricard.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that you drove Paul Ricard.
Rode it,
sorry.
Yeah, I did Paul Ricard for the Bull d'Or 24-hour, and I did the Le Mans 24-hour on a bike as well.
Did you ever do any street circuits on a bike?
No, they don't. The only street circuits that they have, other than in Ireland, is like Macau and as much as I wanted to go over and try to do some of the stuff, it was just, a different world and really hard to put together that program. And like I said, my parents were not stoked on that idea.
Are you looking forward or nervous heading into Honda Indy this year?
I'm really looking forward to it because I've always loved street circuits and it's something that I've never been able to do. But I think the idea of it is so cool and just, high consequence kind of gives me that like rush back that I had on the bike. And hopefully we can keep it out of the wall, but I'm really looking forward to the Indy.
We got you guys lots of track time too. So I think it's 140 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So.
Awesome.
This next question here was asked by someone in a bit more inappropriate way than how I'm going to word it. So do it once, rest of your life, or never again. Snowboarding, bikes, race cars.
Start off cars for the rest of my life. Because I just found it and I'm having so much fun and I don't want to stop. I guess snowboarding once. And yeah, I guess I've had enough time with the bikes.
So this last question, before I ask it, I'm going to give a shout out to the Gary Clute podcast because I listened to you on that. I know you already talked about this, but it is pretty wild. So you got to tell the finger story.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, not much of a story, but I crashed in, I forget if it was a practice or qualifying session at Laguna Seca in turn 3, and my hand got caught on my handlebar. And now it looks like that, but it was a couple of surgeries just to get it in the right spot. And the final one that ended up sticking was I actually brought my handlebar from my race bike in to the doctor's office, and the surgeon like cut up my finger and fitted it around the handlebar and left it in a cast around the bar so that it would heal.
Shut up.
Awesome.
So that you can still hold on.
Yeah, because like when it was like pretty torn up and it was a pretty long surgery just to get it back. And then when it first healed, it was just completely straight out. And I left it like that for a little bit. I thought it'd be fine. And then I went to Daytona for the 200 the following year, and it was just sticking straight out, flapping in the wind down the straightaway and on the banking. So then I got home and had another surgery or two to try to get it sorted out.
It's dedication, like seriously.
That's wild.
Okay, so getting into some more personal stuff, who is the most influential person in your life and why?
For sure, there's probably two. My dad, just for, getting me into racing, teaching me a lot growing up through it, showing me how to work on the bikes. And now we're kind of learning how to work on the car together. And just, we've done everything in racing together. So I always looked up to him and he showed me the ropes. And also John Cornwall was a big part of it, who was a suspension mechanic that I worked a lot with on the motorcycle side of things. And yeah, shout out Corn Dog. He's a crew chief now for Jake Gagne, and they just won the Moto America Superbike Championship last year. So pumped for those guys.
Okay,
Congratulations.
wow. Yeah.
Okay, if Frank could race, for anybody who doesn't know this, Kenny and Haley have a dog named Frank that comes to the track. If Frank could race, would he do so in cars or bikes?
Cars for sure. Bikes are too dangerous. I don't want him to get hurt.
Oh, your son. Now you know how your parents felt.
Yeah.
I feel like with Frank's personality, because he's such like just gets into trouble, I feel like he would want to drive bikes.
Oh, I think he'd love it. I eventually one day I want to build a sidecar and just have him sitting in the side of it with the goggles on. I think it'd be hilarious.
So what are your goals this year?
I want to win a couple races. I think I for sure I want to win a race. So even if I just won one race, I'd be happy. But if I can win a race, get that under my belt and build some momentum, and obviously want to win the championship, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself for that right off the hop. And midway through the season, if I'm there in the points, then maybe switch the focus to doing that.
Your first year of car racing, what was one of the biggest challenges?
Probably just understanding how to go faster. Like I got in the car and I went fairly quick right away, and it seemed easy right off the bat. But then to gain that time to close in on Jonathan, it seemed like so hard. Whereas like on the motorcycle, it's almost easier to make up those last like second or two. The last few tenths are always really hard, but to make up like a second or two to get on like a fast pace seemed easier. In the car, I just don't know how to go faster. So I'm just trying all sorts of stuff and yeah, getting closer.
In bike racing, guys that are running at the front, are they running consistent lap times down to like half second or less, or is there a bit more of a gap?
No, you're pretty consistent on the bike when you're just like clicking them away during the race. But like we go quite a bit faster in qualifying than we do in the race a lot of the time. Partly due to like a fresh tire or sometimes even a qualifying tire. But it's just like if you on a motorcycle, you're always kind of riding at like 90-95%. You're very rarely riding at 100% because you just risk a crash. And to just like shut your brain off for a qualifier lap, ride at 100% is like you'll gain like half a second to a second sometimes just doing that, even though you wouldn't ride like that all the time.
Right, I see.
And in a car, I feel like if you just try to like shut your brain off and drive harder, you're just going to end up going slower.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost need to be rated at 100% or a little less lap after lap. Yeah.
So how active are you online when it comes to promoting racing?
Well, like earlier on in my motorcycle career, like Instagram wasn't even a thing. You know, there was like people had Facebook. I had a Facebook page, but like it didn't seem like a big thing. And then I remember one year, one of my big sponsors told me after I sent them like a race report, they said, "We care more about your social media than we do about race wins." And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. I've always been a fan of just like going out there, doing your thing and getting the results. And in this day and age, that's not enough. And I don't really do a whole lot on social media, but it's something that, you know, if I want to go any further in car racing, I'm going to have to, you know, put that effort in. But it's like just managing social media is a full-time job, it seems like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. No, I typically like I've been trying to ask everybody this question because you know, we have a lot of younger guys who are coming to us and asking about you know, how they want to know what our social media metrics are and what our YouTube views are and our reach. And you know, that helps them go look for sponsorship. But I feel like if each driver was trying to, you know, engage a little bit more with their social media, it would go a long way, just, you know, growing the series as a whole, getting people engaged with the races as a whole. That's my hope anyways. But do you have any sponsors currently?
Yeah, Liqui Moly Oils is helping us out.
Okay.
They sponsored my motorcycle program, and so they carried over and they're helping us out with the car. And that's like, other than that, it's my dad.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing anything to keep Liqui Moly engaged, or?
Last year we didn't do a whole lot. Last year we kind of treated it as like a, you know, get our feet wet, learn the car, learn the paddock, learn the sport, and you know, this year we're going to be putting in a push. So yeah, I'm going to step up the social media this year. And just, I don't know. I've never been the kind of person that wants to go and sell something that could happen. I want to go out there and get the results and then show what I have done. Not, oh, I'm going to promise this. Like, oh, well, I'd rather be able to be like, this is what I want.
Yeah, this is what I'm capable of, and this is proof, essentially.
Yeah, because like coming into this season, I had no idea. Like I could have been really slow, you know. Luckily, that wasn't the case, and I'm building momentum. But I didn't want to have any expectations on myself coming into it. And now that I kind of have a baseline, I know where I'm at. We want to start winning some races. Yeah, like we're gonna have to start doing more on social media, try to get more sponsors, and see where that goes.
When you were riding bikes, was Liqui Moly with you for most of your career?
For the last like 2 or 3 years, it was. When I was most of my career was on a Triumph, and they had Castrol as a sponsor, like corporately, like all their bikes were sold with Castrol oil with like a tag on the oil cap and stuff like that. So Castrol always backed that program. And then when I came back to Canada and got on the Kawasaki's, that's when we picked up Liqui Moly as a sponsor.
When you're doing that, was keeping those partnerships alive year after year, was that mainly results driven, or did you ever have like a disappointed season you might have had to get creative with like keeping them on board?
It was mostly results driven. Like when I first went down the States, I had a 2-year contract and I did not deliver results. And then I came back to Canada and I won, and we had a much smaller budget. And then I won a championship. And then that's when the funding started coming. And then I won another one, and then I won another one, and it just snowballed from there. And then I never got the Superbike championship in the 3 years that I tried. I won 2 races. And then that was kind of the end of the sponsorship and the racing and everything.
Yeah, championships still speak for themselves no matter what.
Yeah, can't argue with a number 1 plate. So
describe your proudest moment in your racing career, but I'm going to split this up into 2. Maybe you do it for last season in the Radical and through your whole biking or riding career.
Last season in the Radical, I think my proudest moment was when I qualified I think I was within like 6 or 7 tenths of a second of Jonathan at CTMP at the final round. And that as soon as because like, even if I was like finishing on the podium or whatever, I was still so far off Jonathan's pace that as soon as I qualified, like, and I was close to him, I was like, oh, okay, like we're going in the right direction here, building. And then, we were still 2022 season wasn't over, but I was already looking forward to the 2023 season, just taking what I've learned going into it. And then overall my career, probably, even though I won a couple championships in Canada, I think my proudest moment was finishing top 5 at the Boulder 24-hour race at Paul Ricard, just because, racing in Europe, and it was a really cool experience, and going through the emotions of a 24-hour race and finishing in 5th was just a really cool feeling.
That is. Not many people out there can say they finished top 5 in a 24-hour race, let alone even finished a race, a 24-hour race, cars or bikes. So,
do you have any advice that you want to give to any younger drivers coming out of like Formula 1600 or karting, and that are looking to take their career to the next level, maybe elevate their personal brand? Or
I think just work hard, and if you don't get discouraged by bad results, and if you just keep working hard and pushing towards it, you can do anything you want.
This last section here, we kind of use it. The floor is yours, your space to kind of shout out anyone specific you want to, or anything you got going into the season.
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks to Liqui Moly for supporting us. My dad, still working on the car. We're going to have it together here shortly. My whole family, and Haley and Frank for supporting me trying to go race car driving, even though, yeah, it's just been a crazy experience getting into the car racing stuff, and looking forward to another year of that. Got 2 snowboard contests before the end of the winter, and then it's full car racing.
Let's go. Are you racing snowboards or like park freestyle stuff?
No, I just do like the bank slalom events. There's like 2 bank slalom events that I do every year. And it's like my highlight of the winter.
They're so fun.
Okay, so where can people connect with you online? Anybody who wants to follow you?
I've got an Instagram. It's Kenny Reedman 42, and that's pretty much it for my social media right now. But I heard you loud and clear, Jess. I'll work on it a bit more.
It's not coming from me personally. Anyway. Okay, thank you, Kenny. That was awesome. Thanks for your time. I know it's nighttime, so I know I'm hungry. I don't know if you've eaten, but go get some food. And thanks again. That was awesome. Thanks for being so honest and open.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And Sam, what year is that Indian behind you?
Yeah, I was wondering if you're gonna notice that. It's 1920 Scout 101.
Is that Suicide Shift?
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, yeah.
That's sick.
I thought it was a fitting background, yeah. And then I was showing Jess in front of us, then we have a Peloton. So you got the millennials bike and the man's bike from the 20s.
Looks sick.
Okay, Kenny. Thanks. See ya.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you later, guys.
Still going bad on you anyway. Whoa, 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 whoa. I can feel like 80 rats in my Marys. Me and Drizzy back to back is getting scary.